All right. Hello and welcome. We are diving into our first monthly muse of 2023. We basically, about once a month, always as a team, try to get together and share different things that are inspiring us, different things that we're noticing within the digital and social media world, and just try to gather and share and learn from each other and discuss how we can put it in use at Wander, and how our clients and others can also hopefully put it in use. So that is what we call the monthly muse. This month we are discussing trends for 2023. We are going to be talking about some social media trends, some digital marketing trends, and another key trend, which is artificial intelligence. Ooh, very spooky, scary stuff, but awesome. Anyway, so we have a nice little presentation to help guide us here. I'm going to share my screen and let's dive in. Jenny, I think we're going to dive in with some of your talking points on social media.
Awesome. Yeah, so of course there are many different things we could say here, but I will start with the fact that we will see growth in vertical video in 2023. And according to HubSpot, video has the highest ROI of any media by far. And according to Adobe, the average user watches 19 hours of video content every week. Also, according to Adobe, short form video accounts for 80% of all mobile data traffic. And as we can see from some of the other things that we'll get into later, YouTube Shorts has 1.5 billion monthly active users and sees more than 30 billion daily views. And then also to note that Facebook Reels are currently blowing up, so don't pass up on the opportunity. And with YouTube Shorts, there's also a huge opportunity, and we'll switch to the next slide and give you some key takeaways from some of these bullet points. So in 2023, I would definitely take YouTube Shorts seriously. This doesn't mean that long form video is dead, or it won't continue to see evergreen results. But using that long form video, you can cut that up into smaller pieces and put that across multiple platforms, including YouTube Shorts. And with YouTube Shorts, beginning in February, the monetization is rolling out for creators on YouTube. And this means that 45% of YouTube's ad revenue will be dropped on creators. So that means that you have the opportunity now to get in and you can get a piece of that pot. And you can also look at other opportunities to monetize with affiliate links and things like that. But I would still take YouTube seriously, and the vertical video is always going to be here. Doesn't mean you can't do other forms, but people are really starting to consume that and take it to the next level.
19 hours. That's a lot of video per week. Is that just online digital, or does that include what people are watching on TV? Did research give you any indication on that?
I'm guessing that it's not TV. I think it's just any type of social media platform or other ways to consume non-traditional video, but that I'm not 100% sure of. But it is amazing that people are consuming it, and video is king, and we'll see that in my third takeaway. But yeah, it's totally interesting and a great opportunity.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, and it is interesting to see like the use of video and how people are using it. Like we even have been doing these types of meetings for goodness, 2, 3, 4 years. And we're like, hey, what if we record it and turn this into video content? So I feel like there's ways to get into the video game, even just, recording Zoom meetings or whatever.
Yeah, and you can take a wide video. If you want like an 8-minute video on YouTube, you can cut it, make sure like you have room vertical videos, switch it to a different platform like Reels, TikToks, things like that. But yeah, people want to be a part of what you have. So the vertical aspect gives them, you being more of a real life thing to grab onto.
Next time we're going to have to make the PowerPoint into a vertical slide.
I was just going to say that.
Horizontal.
So they can do it.
That's awesome.
All right, moving along. Number 2 for you, Jenny.
Okay, so 2023 is the year of the side hustle. And according to Instagram's 2023 trend report, which mostly gears toward Gen Zs, so some of these data points are going to be specifically relating to that. But 64% of Gen Z social media users plan to monetize a project this year. And then over 85% of Gen Z users plan to learn a new skill in 2023. And 1 out of 14 social media users want to increase their skills in finance. So that means not only do they want to create a side hustle, but they care about financial stability. And so the side hustle is kind of a way for them to be able to do that. And then while considering a side hustle, be sure to do your market research and know if there's an audience out there that somebody might want what you have to offer. And sometimes when the market is saturated, that likely means there's an opportunity to monetize. It means people care about that topic. However, I would find a way to spin that in order to create your own community or put your own aspect to it so that you can create trust and build a community so that people want to listen to you and buy from you. So it doesn't mean that you can't do whatever you want, but when there are other people out there that want what you have to offer, it's a really great opportunity to potentially monetize. So some key takeaways from this. Obviously, we're doing high level stuff. A lot of this has a lot more in depth about it, but some of the key takeaways is that the e-learning industry is going to be a $1 billion a day industry by 2025. So if you want to begin a side hustle, educating others, now is the time to begin, especially with the monetization from YouTube and other platforms that they're offering. Of course, you can go on other platforms, Instagram, TikTok. However, YouTube is really putting a lot of money behind their creators. And you'll notice that the way that works out is a lot differently than TikTok. You might have cents on the dollar or things like that, where YouTube has an opportunity. So don't be afraid to post on multiple platforms. And then 68% of online experiences begin with the search engine. So this opens up another topic like altogether that we'll get into another day. This is that search engine optimization, titles, descriptions, and ways to optimize for discovery are going to be really important for growth. Because if you do have a saturated market, you need to stand out. And some of those are huge opportunities for optimization that are going to allow you to stand out more than the others. And then you'll want people to be able to, of course, find you and become an authority on a specific topic.
So can we talk a little bit about some of the types of side hustles, I guess you could think of, like for digital? I mean, I'm thinking obviously my generation, it's very common to have, people who are like doing essential oils or doing kind of the different lifestyle and fitness type of tutorials or things like that. Those are a couple that immediately come to my mind, but like, I imagine there's so many opportunities to kind of, as long as you find that niche that you're really going after, I imagine the opportunities are kind of limitless.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, it's never ending, but some of the people who have seen success, especially in education, people are converting to homeschooling these days. So just creating an opportunity for a community for homeschoolers, parents to come together, or so that you can create a video on something that and that can educate other students. So if one parent's really good at the art aspect and another's really good at the science aspect, they can kind of collaborate and create those communities. But also dogs are a huge opportunity for accounts, whether that be educating or like talking dogs with the buttons, things like that. And then, even if it's just, obviously fashion is always going to be one. There's so many, honestly.
Yeah, because I guess you could almost turn like your Instagram like with the shop button, like if you're, turn that into an Amazon affiliate link and be selling like the sweater that you're wearing and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's and honestly, a great opportunity too is for some of that network marketing, like Beachbody and things like that. I mean, there's a community for those, or like Weight Watchers. Even though it is kind of an MLM type thing, it doesn't mean it's a negative thing. That just might be where you need to meet that mom who's postpartum at. Like, that's what she's able to do and the amount of money she's able to give. And so you create these communities. But yeah, you can go right now and create an affiliate link to Amazon. And there is an influencer section, which takes more credentials to get, but anybody can go and create an affiliate link right now.
That's huge. I love that.
Yeah.
So you had one more trend that you wanted to point out, and it was all about podcasting. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes. So podcasting will likely increase in 2023, particularly those with a video component. So according to that 2023 Instagram trend report, the next generation, they care about influencers and the ones that they follow, and they want them to branch into new forms of media. For example, over 40% of Gen Z followers want to hear podcasts from their favorite social media creators in 2023. And then I don't know if you're as surprised as I am, but YouTube was named the world's most used podcast platform and has over 4 million podcasts, which they have their own, little URL, youtube.com/podcast. And then according to Think Media and The Hustle, YouTube is actually investing in the platform and has hired an actual podcast executive. So they are offering $50K to $300K to podcasters and networks to create video. And then they've also partnered with NPR to bring 20 plus of its most popular shows over. So I think about 49% of people prefer podcasting with a video component. And so it's really going to be huge. And the great thing is that if people don't want it in video, you still give it to them to consume in audio. So you're not missing out, other than having a great, you have to put together, a filming, aspect that could be a little bit more confusing if you're having guests and things like that.
Yeah, that's really, really crazy.
Yes. So some key takeaways from this are you can capture both video and audio for your audiences to give them what they want. And then if you are thinking about a podcast, it's not too late. I know that it feels like there are so many podcasts out there. But again, just like our last nugget of information, you do your research and you find how you can come to this, with a different aspect on things and give people what they want or create that community and then start the podcast.
And if you are interested in a good podcast talking about all things marketing, check out the Wandercreative podcast. And we have both audio and visual. So check that out.
There you go, Dan. Shameless plug. Yeah.
Shameless plug.
Right here on YouTube.
Exactly. Yes. Officially, we did an official season 1 a while back. And we've talked about turning these monthly muses into kind of bonus episodes or its own type of season. So I think that one of the things that really intrigues me about podcasts is I feel like when I think of it, and I would imagine a lot of people probably watching this are like, where the heck would I even start with a podcast? And I think that really all three of your trends that you really hit on, Jenny, were very broad. And I like that they're broad, but I also think that one of the things that as an individual, you have to dilute, and dilute's probably not the right word, but you really have to think through is how can I make this so potent and niche it down to actually find a relevant audience? Because like you said, someone who is looking for dog accounts and wants to follow dog accounts, if you are trying to have a dog account, trying to have a fitness account, trying to have a fashion account all in one account, people might lose interest. They might not understand that. But if you have a dedicated dog account, people are more likely to follow you because you're talking about dogs. And same thing with podcasting. Like if people are wanting to find a podcast about raising dogs or stories about dogs rescuing people, or like, you know, inspirational stories about dogs or true crime dog podcasts, that would be something I would listen to. But you know, I think that's kind of the important thing when you are looking holistically at all three of these, is it really can relate to anybody, but you really have to niche it down and figure out how can I make this super potent and super laser focused for my audience and to find
and it's not gonna it's gonna be overwhelming when you think about all of this. So if you're like, oh, and I want to start a side hustle and I want to do podcasting, maybe start your side hustle, see what develops of that, try to gain some followers, and then look at your highest ranked videos and say, wow, people probably want to hear more about that topic. So let me just translate that into a podcast to give them even more stuff. Or let me go look at some brand that might want to help sponsor my podcast this episode. And then maybe they can, you know, either you kind of collaborate and give, you know, each party, you know, something that benefits them, or maybe you can monetize that eventually. But definitely look at the content you've already put out. And that's going to help you with what podcast, you know, episodes should be about.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Moving on, Dan, I think you have some trends to talk to us about marketing when it comes to digital marketing for 2023.
I do, yes. Thank you. I'm going to be talking a little bit about 3 digital advertising trends in 2023. Obviously, these will kind of be brief overviews, and there's going to be plenty more trends to look into. So if you want to continue to do that, check out Wandercreative's socials. We'll continue to be posting future trends and stuff like that, as well as diving into these ones a little bit. The first one I put down was putting your moral message front and center. So consumers don't just want to support a brand, they do want to feel like they're supporting an idea at this point. This is an upward trend in 2023, and audiences want to know that their support of your brand is support for a cause. So this doesn't necessarily mean that you go panic mode, we have to figure out how to kind of rebrand totally. But if you are a brand or a company that supports a cause, consider what it might mean to either run a campaign, maybe for a season, talking about what that cause is. Or if you say, you know what, actually, we do kind of want this to be a staple for our brand. There's an example kind of on the next slide, and it's a company called Maritime Supply Company. I actually really like them. They do kind of like nautical jewelry for men and women. This is actually one of them. I've had it for like 7 years, but great company, quality stuff. But they, on their Instagram bio, you can see right there, it says every order equals clean water. They've done that for years, and that's a big kind of staple for them as a brand. And then of course, consumers, they want to feel good about the purchase. Back then, they would spend money to get an item or service, but now they're much more likely to kind of press that purchase when they know that they're not only getting the same product or service, but some of their money is going to a good cause. It kind of incentivizes them a little bit more to hit that purchase. So that's kind of my first point. And I think that's
And just to add on to that before you move on, that's so awesome, because I found that in my research too. So being vocal about your values was one of, you know, the trends as well. And 30% of marketers are creating content that reflects their brand values, making it the 3rd most popular trend right now, according to HubSpot. So, and obviously Gen Zers, according to that Instagram trend report, they care about causes 100%, and they'll buy. And that's part of making you, like they want to support your mission. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. That's huge.
Awesome. Yeah. Moving forward, audiences are looking to connect with the brand through authenticity. So we all went through 2020, the pandemic, and you're probably thinking I'm kind of sick of hearing about it. If you're like me, and that is actually kind of playing into this role. After the pandemic, people are looking for levity, humor, and authenticity. They want to see human-like personality and vulnerability. There are multiple ways to do this. You can incorporate things like characters or mascots into a campaign. Characters, of course, are bringing in a little bit more of that personality and vulnerability. Characters, of course, bring kind of more of the levity and humor side of things. There's an example on the following slide of Hootsuite doing that in a digital campaign. It's, of course, a mascot holding up a sign that says a social media manager is not an entry-level job. But I mean, that continues to the trend of the audience's desire to stray away from the completely polished ad campaigns and social feeds, but leaning more into authentic visual styles that accurately represent kind of the day-to-day. So we are continuing to see that. We saw that in last year, that people are wanting less and less of the super polished perfect. They want to be able to trust the brand that they're supporting, in the kind of more organic approach. And I'm sure Jenny's seen that on the organic side as well. That's kind of much more trustworthy for the viewer. And trust hasn't been a new trend. That's something that people have always desired, but we're seeing that take place in new ways. So yeah, the third point I have is influencer marketing continuing. So it's not going anywhere. Audiences are 8 times more likely to recall branded content when distinctive sounds are used through their favorite influencers. That's like things like sounds on TikTok, stuff like that. But then also 81% of podcast listeners take action after hearing audio ads on their favorite shows. This goes along with kind of our previous point about authenticity, but we want to trust the voice that's telling us to take the next step on a product or service. Of course, we're going to be able to do that much more when it's a voice that we know, trust, and love. And according to research from GWI, this is the reason behind a greater emphasis on video reviews of products on apps like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. However, on the flip side, there's been an 11% drop in trust on online reviews, but consumers are more likely to trust a review they can tangibly watch with a product that's visible. We largely see that on YouTube, and then we are seeing that on TikTok more and more. But for any, if you consider ads that you're running for a new campaign, consider utilizing video reviews of a product. People actually being able to see the someone holding the product instead of a polished studio image of that, where you might get it. I've countless times ordered things that looked one way, and then when you got it, you're like, this is a different color, this is a different shape, this is, but being able to see a person hold it up, talk about if it's a shirt, talk about how soft it is, what they like about it, that would go really far in a paid ad campaign. And I think that would be following kind of along this digital trend in 2023.
That really speaks to the trust of influencers. If you're giving them bogus reviews, your audience is going to catch on and they're going to lose that trust with you. So you really do have to value who you align with or who you choose to share products about.
Yeah, I think 2 things kind of jumped out as you were going through those trends. Is first the post-COVID kind of rise in personas and mascots. Like I feel like the brand mascot has been around forever. I mean, you have the Planters, Mr. Peanut, and you have like Tony the Tiger for Kellogg's and Frosted Flakes, and the Gecko from Geico. Like, but it's just so fascinating to see how it's now even almost waterfalling into everyday, like the everyday campaigns. It's not just on on Saturday morning cartoons. It's not just but even like in the sports world, like every sports team has a mascot too. It's like there's something about the mascot that kind of personifies this brand or this entity that really kind of captures people's attention. So that's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing us say is Wander needs a mascot. It's
Maybe Simba wants to be nominated.
We already
Simba.
do. It's my
I
cat
vote
Simba.
Simba. Yeah,
It is Simba. Yeah.
That's amazing. And then also the influencer thing really jumped out at me too. I mean, I feel like, you know, I want to blame my wife more than myself, but I feel like I also get caught up in influencer stuff where it's like, you know, when we're doing different shopping or even like thinking through where we want to go for dinner, it's like, oh, some of the people that we follow that we kind of either casually know or don't really even know, we just happen to follow them, might influence what trip we want to take next or what object we want to buy. We just got done buying a new living room rug, and I remember we didn't end up going with it, so this might be a terrible example, but one of the people that my wife Carmen follows, they got one of the Ruggable rugs, and they were like doing like an Instagram thing about it, and we very seriously contemplating getting one because we we're like, oh, that's really nice. We have a toddler. You can just literally pull it up and throw it in the washing machine.
Yeah.
But we ended up getting a white one that probably is going to get stains from a toddler instead.
Well, and the good thing about too, the whole influencer marketing thing, I mean, obviously I'm talking about it kind of also from a paid standpoint. But a thing to note, like if you're considering utilizing influencer marketing in, say, an ad campaign, it goes a long way to also take into consideration that organic desire over a polished look. I know that just from personal experience, as I look up reviews on a product I'm wanting to purchase, sometimes the overly polished ones I don't trust as much as kind of the everyday guy who's just like a dude who bought it and is now talking about what he thinks about it. I'm much more likely to kind of trust that everyday guy rather than, well, this is just a commercial in a different form. So that's something to take into consideration.
Yeah. I mean, even looking at Abercrombie, I mean, they always leaned like toward the younger crowd. They also had kind of a falling out. And then you look at all these influencers and they're just blowing Abercrombie up with, you know, all these new things and for adults. And it's just amazing that that's all come from influencer marketing.
Yep.
So I think one of the things that's going to be a really interesting tension looking at 2023 and beyond is we're talking a lot about organic and raw and authentic, but at the exact same time, the rise of technology and artificial intelligence. So I know Franklin, one of the main trend that he really spent a lot of time on is artificial intelligence powered copywriting. So tell us a little bit about that and how it plays into the ecosystem.
Well, first, let's start with what is AI copywriting. It's AI copywriting is a generated content machine, essentially, where AI, artificial intelligence, uses the internet to learn keywords and topics and will generate paragraphs or sentences based off of the user typing in a few words. One example can be like typing in Wandercreative ad agency, and it would then put out a paragraph of, well, you can, with a few of them, you can pick how long and whatever to generate, but it'll give a paragraph of what an ad agency is essentially. But it's not a replacement for copywriters by any means. That goes into my first point, where AI copywriting is a great tool, but it isn't perfect. It can be used to start the process, or if someone has writer's block, get the process started to get the ideas out there. But you need to make sure to look it over, because it's not a perfect tool yet. It's going to make mistakes, either grammatically or just putting in information for your specific brand that might not be correct. So you'll have to go over it. You'll have to make sure it's, which I'll get more into later on a different point. But they're great for work that doesn't require a lot of thought, I guess. Like, I don't know what social post I need to write today, but I know what topic I want to hit on. So like, you just put in a few keywords, it'll generate the social copy for you, and you go off and you use that as your social post for the day, or things along those lines, where it's just something quick. You're not generating an entire blog post or something, which is possible with with some of these tools, but again, not perfect. As I mentioned before, it can be a great way to help with writer's block, generating copy ideas when you're stuck on something. Which, like a blog post, hey, this is what I want to talk about, but I don't know how to get my point across. Use this tool, gives you that, generates that you can go over it, change it, maybe gives you an idea to completely rewrite the paragraph, but it just gets kind of the mind going. But as I mentioned a little bit before, my next point is best practices on it is to edit, because like I mentioned, it's not perfect. And poor I'm sure that the people on this call and the people listening and watching have probably come across this, where poor spelling and grammar scare 59% of web visitors away. So double check everything. I know personally, I would sometimes, if you're in an argument with somebody and they misspell, you can automatically point out like, oh wait, you don't know what you're talking about. You can't even spell this word correctly, or or something along those lines. But yes, I've noticed on some other marketing agency websites where they had like a misspelling, or even for me with a copy editing background, formatting mistakes, where I'm just like, and I don't know if I can trust this brand anymore because of the inconsistencies in grammar or in anything along those lines that an AI just wouldn't detect. Now, and eventually might it could, but it's not there yet. But at that point aside, this is where a copy editor is still a very important aspect in the copywriting and copy editing aspect of running a business, because you can't say AI is going to replace it, because the copy editor will correct the mistakes that the AI might make. And the editor will make sure that everything flows correctly, where the AI might just be like, here's but a bunch of random points together with no real flow in like a blog post or article or any other type of information that a copy editor or copywriter is generating for a website or other needs. And that goes on with my edit point. But my next one is if you do like the idea of using an AI copywriter, there are a few that I found that were highly rated and seem to be used across the board, and they seem to be a useful tool for everyone. As you can see, here's a few examples. Jasper being, I think, the most recommended across the board from what I found. Copy.ai, Writesonic, and Smart Copy. The article that I used to do most of my research used Smart Copy the most. And that article is the one who emphasized, yes, AI copywriting is good, but make sure you have somebody to look over what is said. But as a former copywriter, copy editor, this would have been a great tool to have for some things, especially with some of the articles that I've had to write or read before, where it's just like, oh, you just kind of said the same thing over and over again. But in a marketing world, this could definitely be a good tool to use for someone starting off who may not have a good copy editing background or copywriting background, just to get things going.
Yeah.
Or same thing with social media. I don't know what I need to write today for a post, or just anything along those lines. But
the great thing, like from some of my research, is like it's not going to replace a human, but but the people that you work with or work for are just going to expect more productivity because you have these tools. So it allows you to do things faster, and instead of sitting there spinning your wheels like, oh, what do I want this to be about, you use this to help generate things, and then you're able to be more productive. And so in some of that too is like, say I'm an entrepreneur and I don't have the money to hire a copywriter, I can use these tools for free or for a small price to maximize my business.
And it's crazy to me how it keeps getting smarter and smarter as time goes. Like I've used for I'm a notoriously bad speller. And so for years I've, obviously you have the built-in spell check on Word and Apple's Pages and things like that. But more recently I've started using Grammarly.com to kind of do some of the proofreading and proof editing, and that even has helped a little bit with, hey, like what if you rephrased this, or this is actually difficult, like this is a very wordy, knowledgey sentence or paragraph, like what if you rephrase it. But I feel like even now we're starting to get into the next level to where kind of like what you said, Franklin, of well, I'm an AI that is ingesting this 3-paragraph blog post that you just submitted, or this email that you're about to hit send on, and you basically said the exact same thing 5 times in a row. What if you just consolidate that to these 3 sentences, and like the AI is able to kind of figure that out and point that out, and that's really fascinating.
Matt, to your point, what's really funny is, those roles completely just flipped, where we were writing and things like Grammarly were saying, hey, actually, like, let's edit these. And now AI is doing the writing and we're going through and editing and making sure. But 2 things with that. One, Franklin, I was expecting you to get to the end and be like, by the way, all of my points were written in AI. But a question I have, and I don't know if this is something we know off the top of our heads or not, but with kind of it being still in the earlier phases of AI writing, a question I have is, if you're a brand kind of looking into potentially doing it, and it's maybe a little bit more long form writing, how many mistakes kind of is it still pumping out? Is it still going to save us time to go through and edit out any of the mistakes that's made in AI copywriting, or is it like kind of more for short form ideas, punch in some keywords and see what it writes when you're in a writer's block?
I looked at one that was an example of comparing like 2 cameras, and it would get like the main points wrong of like, this camera does not do that. So like you have to know that that's completely incorrect. And so even if it's written properly, it's just not right.
From what I've seen, short form, it does its best work. I've seen some examples of people using it to write blog posts where it's not quite a book, but it's also longer than just like a paragraph. But so like I've mentioned, it is still a ways off, but it can be a useful tool. I do actually know people who work in the AI industry where they build these AI to learn from different things. And so part of that process for this to keep learning is just time. The more it does these different tasks, the more it can like these AI learn from these mistakes and the different websites and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just copywriting. I mean, they have like AI voiceovers, they have like AI video editing, AI title generators, descriptions, like vidIQ uses that, Adobe Premiere does color matching, Morph Cut, and then GillaCloud does like video editing, Synthesis does voiceover. So it's helping so many aspects of content creation, especially like people in video or people who are doing social media or digital ads. Like it goes a long way. It's crazy what it already does.
True. Yeah, I've actually utilized AI art generation, and it's amazing. It's really fun to put in parameters
and from my research, because that was one of the trends, obviously, for social media, is that if you don't hop on the trend, like you're going to be left behind, because people are going to be able to do so much more than you can manually with these tools.
Yeah, that's crazy. I feel like we could almost do an entire one of these, and maybe we will here in a few months, like kind of circle back around and just talk about AI and the different ways to utilize it. Because I do feel like one of the things that, from a business perspective that we keep talking about is how can we get more efficient and just quicker so that we can continue to scale, but then also to continue to deliver extremely quality results for our clients. And I feel like that's the great thing about technology. That's the great thing about AI, is that it might not be perfect, but it is starting to get to the point where you can utilize it as a tool. Yeah, you're still going to have the actual tactical ways of being able to use it, but it is starting to be something that you can leverage for efficiency's sake.
For sure. Great. Yeah, AI, I've always pictured it as a useful tool that you shouldn't be scared of, because I know a lot of people can hear that and be frightened of, oh, it's going to take over jobs for everyone and people won't be needed anymore, kind of thing. I've always seen it as or it's what's the Transformer movies where they just become their own race almost. But
Terminator or whatever.
Terminator.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, yeah, that's some of the trends that we've seen and are noticing going into 2023, and we'll definitely continue to give updates on various trends via social media, via blogs, all of that. So for those of you who are tuning in and want to stay in touch with what's going on in the digital and social media landscape, definitely either be checking our websites, follow us on social media and all of that fun, and we'll definitely do our best to keep you in the loop. So yeah,
and comment below your favorite trend of 2023.
Yes, exactly.
Let us know what you think.
All right, see y'all.
Bye.